it is interesting that she's gotten herself into this, and that I don't think it has done her any favors. It gave her some temporary dopamine hits to be able to go out and do her interviews and conjure people's sympathies and speak before Congress and get a law passed and stand there, you know, in her scholarly glasses, you know, with her feminist bob and whatever, and get their picture taken out in front of the Capitol building. Yeah, it felt good for a minute, but there has been a powerful hangover to this situation. I want to talk about Marilyn Manson and Evan Rachel Wood because there have been a couple of developments that people are asking me to speak on. One of which being that Evan Rachel Wood is off Instagram right now. So her page is off. She's taken it down or deactivated it or whatever. But not with any explanation or anything. So I'm skeptical. I'll talk about this a little later, but I'm skeptical about getting too excited about it, that like it means something, like she's, you know, changing her ways, or she's finally figured out that what she's doing to Marilyn Manson with this whole Me Too hoax is awful, or that there's something, and I think a lot of people are hoping this, that there's something going on with the legal proceedings between the two of them. You know, he's suing her, that has made her suddenly think, okay, maybe it's time to stop defaming this man. But it also could be something with her ex-husband, because you know, Jamie Bell, because you know that she was withholding his child from him, their child, and then he was given primary custody by the courts because of her craziness and so forth. So it could be something with them. You know, she's been dissing him. Evan Rachel Wood has been dissing him a lot in ways that are somewhat subtle, although when you talk about a narcissistic co-parent over and over and over, narcissistic co-parent, you know, these ways that she not so subtly refers to him, I don't think it's very subtle anymore. And then she might have something going on with her parents too, because some of the things that she's been posting on Instagram indicate that she's got some issues with one or both of her parents. So I don't know. So yeah, Evan Rachel Wood deleted her Instagram, or her Instagram is gone. And so a number of people were celebrating, which is fine. Look, any instance for celebration, I guess, in this situation is fine. People get some encouragement, but they were celebrating it like it was some kind of sign, perhaps, that Evan Rachel Wood has been in some way defeated or deflated in this never-ending battle to the death, figuratively speaking, with Marilyn Manson. You know what it reminds me of? And this is actually, you know, if Manson's watching, you're probably not going to find this funny, honestly. It's kind of, you probably find it irritating, but because it's your life and you're living the hell, I get it. But Superman 2, the old Superman, I'm sorry, with Christopher Reeve. Was it Superman 2 where those people come back in dominatrix outfits? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Like there's 3 of them, and they've got these like black like leather or like PVC like cat suits on, and one of them's a woman. It's a woman and 2 men. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? Well, anyway, at the end, 2 of them get into a fight or something, and they get frozen in time like forever. If I'm remembering it right, they get frozen in time like forever, just flying through space in this sort of like, well, it's hard to explain, but they get trapped in this like cube, and then they just like float through space for eternity, something like that. It's like a prison floating through space. But anyway, 2 of them are at each other's throats, as I remember, and they're just locked in this never-ending, eternal battle at each other's throats. I know it's not a perfect analogy, but I kind of feel like that with the Marilyn Manson and Evan Rachel Wood thing. It's like, how much longer is this man going to be held hostage in this fight? And I have to think that there's a part of Evan Rachel Wood that really wishes, and maybe this is part of what's to account for her Instagram going away. We'll see. We'll see if it comes back or not. But there has to be a part of her, even as self-delusional as she is and unwilling to admit to reality, there has to be a part of her that really regrets that she got this whole thing started, because she could have just sailed through the last, this shit started in 2021. Well, actually, we know that it did not. We know that it started, what, a year or 2 before that. And really going back, I mean, we know that it really started in 2016 when she started talking about her supposed sexual abuse, and then started testifying and trying to get laws passed and all of that. But the overt stuff started in 2021 with her coming out with these other women against Manson, and then the chain of events that have followed, where she did these TV appearances, and then he sued her, And then she got all of this bad publicity, which she has gotten a lot of bad publicity as well, and not just from someone less significant like me, but really bad publicity in a lot of ways. And it's got to be exhausting, and all the money that she's got to be throwing at Sean, O.J. Simpson's former attorney, throwing at her. I just think there's got to be a part of Rachel Wood that in her most honest moments or whatever, she's like, I'm so sick of this. I wish that I hadn't done it. She could have sailed through making movies, doing Broadway, doing all the stuff that she's doing. I mean, I guess she hasn't lost roles, although we don't really know that. There's a part of me that wonders perhaps if, I mean, after Westworld, she hasn't really had anything huge, right? I know she's done some movies and she did a Broadway thing, but like, there's a part of me that wonders if, even though Manson was the one who was canceled, we're starting to see a kind of a shift where people, it's sort of like they look at Amber Heard in the industry like, oh, she's just whatever happened there with those two, she's tainted. And do you hear those stories about losing custody of her kid and the FBI faking the FBI? What's up with all of that? I hear she's like another Amber Heard. Like, people are saying that in the industry, and I know that. I have verified that with people, not people I'm saying affiliated with Manson. I'm talking about just some people that I've talked to who are either kind of big in the entertainment industry or who are connected with people who are. And I've asked them, what is the feeling when the tone of the conversations, if and when Marilyn Manson comes up? Not that everybody's like out there talking about him, right? Oh, that they were, honestly. But when it comes up or whatever, what is the tenor of it? And people have told me that it's basically like, that whole thing just smells bad. Like I don't know if he's guilty or if he's not, or but she's weird. There's something. She's got that on her. She's got that on her, and I don't see how unless the DA files charges against Manson, which we know he's not going to, and I've talked about that a lot of my videos. But in lieu of that, there's nothing that's going to happen to unsully her reputation and the feeling that people have about her. It's just this sordid. So I don't know. It's interesting. It is interesting that she's gotten herself into this, and that I don't think it has done her any favors. It gave her some temporary dopamine hits to be able to go out and do her interviews and conjure people's sympathies and speak before Congress and get a law passed and stand there, in her scholarly glasses, with her feminist bob and whatever, and get their picture taken out in front of the Capitol building. Yeah, it felt good for a minute, but there has been a powerful hangover to this situation, and she continues to experience it, and I don't really think it's going to abate. I just wonder how Evan Rachel Wood feels about the documentary that's coming out soon. We know there's going to be a documentary, I would say in the next couple of months, a 3-part documentary series about Manson, and it's going to look at the allegations against him, in addition to like a retrospective on his career, which I'm sure will not be entirely flattering. But it's going to get into the allegations, and I think she's going to be a big part of that. I don't know how overtly, or if they're interviewing her. I heard from a source that may not be credible that she was going to be a pretty big part of this, and that she might even be introducing new allegations or something. I don't know, but I just wonder if now where things are at, I guess is what I have to say, is that I am surprised that she has not spoken out against Manson going on tour with Five Finger Death Punch. I really am surprised. And it's kind of humbling, actually, to admit that I was wrong on this, because one of the things that I've been so frustrated with Manson about, in terms of frustrated that he's not doing more aggressive PR, is I thought that at any point he announced some kind of career move, he would have this woman on the warpath just constantly beating the drums. And she has stayed completely quiet, has she not? So that in and of itself does sort of suggest an interpretation that in some way this woman hasn't gotten the message to a degree. I don't know if it's legally or what's going on. I don't think anything's going on right now much with a lawsuit, but I could be wrong, or things going on behind the scenes. Or maybe she's just not getting as much work. Like I said, maybe there are roles that she's wanting that she's not getting. Or maybe her agent is telling her, shut the up. Or maybe her lawyers. But Evan Rachel Wood is certainly not behaving as a woman who is all fire and brimstone and balls to the wall in her pursuit of justice against Marilyn Manson and exposing Brian Warner and all of that. So And of course, we know that she lost custody of her son because of all her crazy antics. And so, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes there, because we were only privy to a small number of documents through the Tennessee courts, because that's where she ran away to when she kidnapped her child and withheld him from his father. But there was this whole thing that happened in California, ongoing custody disputes and negotiations and so forth, that we aren't privy to. So who knows? Maybe she's been told by the family courts to shut the fuck up. I don't know. But it's interesting to see the IG go away. I just don't want to prematurely celebrate, but maybe it's just a celebration just to see her off the internet for a few days. I don't know. So Johnny Depp, Jean Dubarry. Oh, I want to say one more thing too, actually, about Marilyn Manson. So I did make a comment like a week ago about how I don't think it does him favors for people to keep talking about his sobriety, in the sense that, oh, we're so glad now that, like, everything's fine now because he's sober. Or when it gets brought up, like, why are you touring with Manson or whatever? Like, I appreciate what that Zoltan Bathory guy said of FFDP, but I'm just saying, like, in general, the problem that I see with the continuing to talk about his sobriety is that it feels like an admission of prior guilt. And maybe that's just me, but it almost feels like people are saying, well, he was a monster when he was drunk, when he was drinking or drugging or whatever, but now that he's sober, we don't have to worry about him doing abusive shit to women anymore. And I know that's not what people are meaning to say, and I'm not calling out his fans for just being happy about his sobriety, because it's a huge milestone and you should be happy that this guy is healthier and happier. But I don't know, sometimes when I see some of the articles and the way it's sort of depicted, I just wonder if that's how a lot of people are going to see it, is like, it almost sounds like people are saying, well, yeah, we can have him on tour because now he's under control, because he's not a wild, drunken beast now, basically. So I don't know. Y'all can tell me what you think. Maybe I'm wrong on that.